Just pick up the phone. Everyone is so scared of calling people. I do this for every rep, no matter what age. If they've had a bad conversation, they will go back down to just, I'm going to hide behind my keyboard. And you have to remind yourself that, oh, if I send them an email and I don't know, what they're doing with this contract or what they think about the price point, just pick up the phone and call them. And it's fine to call someone every day until you get a response. Being professionally persistent is a key asset that separates good salespeople from great salespeople.
Hector, man, good to see you. Happy that you're joining the show today.
Thanks so much for having me, Eric. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm going to read a little bit about your background so the audience can get an understanding of who you are. Hector is the founder of Fluencer, which is a business influencer marketplace. If you're looking to work with B2B creators who are on LinkedIn or TikTok, then this is a great platform where you can not only find them, but you can also manage the campaign from beginning to end. Prior to Fluencer, Hector started Revenue Syndicate. It's a community of 700 plus go-to-market experts in the UK who co-invest into tech-enabled B2B tech companies. And lastly, Hector is sort of an adrenaline junkie, which I just learned. We're talking crazy stuff here like windsurfing. And I think when you were younger, you used to do like motocross, right?
Yeah, I had about 2 or 3 years doing motocross until I was showing off to the friend. I managed to crash into a tree and break my shoulder, but I still love motorbikes.
Now, is this hereditary? Is like your dad like an adrenaline junkie too, or did they urge you into these kind of sports?
I think my dad is, let's say, pretty traditional English, and he does like sailing and things like that. But actually, I would say my mum's the wild one, very into kind of horse riding, those kinds of things. But they were always encouraging me to, yeah, chase the next thrill.
Okay. And you're in Spain right now, primarily for, I know you're working as well, but the other hobby that you take an interest in is.
Yeah, do a bit of windsurfing, but also trying kite surfing just to see how it is. So I'm in the reefer at the moment, which is extremely windy. And yeah, trying that out. Not very successfully, but liking the challenge.
All right. What's been the most dangerous sport that you've ever participated in or activity?
Probably, so I can ride horses, but I don't like riding them. And so my mum asked me to do something called vaulting, which is when, if you've ever been to a circus and they do flips off horses. So from the age of about 12 or 13, I was made to stand on top of various size horses and do somersaults and things off the back of them. Not now because I've drunk far too many beers and eaten far too many pizzas to do that anymore. But it's pretty terrifying jumping off that, trying to land on the ground when you're moving forward, and then you have a live animal that's very close proximity and you can easily get trampled. Yeah.
Okay. Hence the craziness to dare venture into like startups and creating your own
Yeah.
company. I get it now. I get it now. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your background because I think you got into sales first. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. So I'm one of the very few people that I've ever spoken to who actually really liked sales from a very young age. So actually my first job was door-to-door selling, and I did that for 6 months, and I was selling weed killer and fertilizer. And the best objection handling is if you knock on someone's door on a Saturday at 10 a.m. on their day off and try and pitch them something, if you can deal with that, then you can conquer anything. And then from there, I worked in art galleries in Selfridges and Harrods and more retail stuff. And then I was very lucky to join the tech scene in probably would have been 2015 now. And then I got very lucky and joined a company called Cognizant, and I was their first junior sales employee. And then scaled with them to 50 million ARR, about 200 employees, moved over to the US, and I opened their US office and met some incredible mentors and people, and was given a lot of different opportunities, which I'm grateful I took advantage of now because it set me up for what I'm working on now.
Okay. Let's say somebody's never done sales and you're trying to coach them. What is like the principles or the basic things that they need to get right? Like the top two or three things.
Just pick up the phone. Everyone is so scared of calling people. I do this for every rep, no matter what age. If they've had a bad conversation, they will go back down to just, I'm going to hide behind my keyboard. And you have to remind yourself that, oh, if I send them an email and I don't know, what they're doing with this contract or what they think about the price point, just pick up the phone and call them. And it's fine to call someone every day until you get a response. Being professionally persistent is a key asset that separates good salespeople from great salespeople. I think the other one is probably slightly controversial opinion, but there's basically a balance between being pushy, consultative, and knowing when to ask the question. And a lot of people are, I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but being able to know when to push and say, okay, I need an answer on this. Now we're going to talk about commercials and guide someone through the process rather than just offering all of your knowledge so that they eventually hope they'll say, yeah, let's sign a contract. And then I think the third one is the best salespeople I had the opportunity to meet have a very meticulous and refined process from everything from setting aside blocks of time to just sending emails to social selling to calling. And they have the most immaculate and well thought through notes so that they've got every question understood and can answer any question about any deal to a VP of sales at any time, and creating your own sales operating system. So I'd say that those three things are the ones that are really key to be successful when you're selling.
Are you particular when it comes to a sales operating system? Is there a certain platform out there that you prefer more than others?
It depends what part of sales that you're really looking at. I think a lot of your audience are maybe slightly earlier in the journey than these huge enterprise level companies.
Correct.
But you can basically just get started with a HubSpot and just upgrade there. You can get data from Apollo, and I just use Notion and Fathom.video for pretty much everything else in call recording. Another key one is actually, especially in earlier days, you should record every conversation that you have with customers and prospects, so that it's a bit like NFL teams when they rewatch stuff back. You should watch yourself and say, oh, I could have asked that question then. I should have leapt on this point. It's really important if you want to improve.
Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of people get stuck inside their head and they tend to analyze too much, like a conversation, or like you said, they're afraid to pick up the phone because they think, oh, I sent them the email, so they've got it in their inbox and now it's their turn. The ball's in their court. When the reality is, the person may have just forgot and they get overwhelmed. They get so many different emails and they just may have forgot to reply. And so I totally agree with you about picking up the phone. And I think it's even more difficult with the younger generation because they're not used to calling people. They're used to texting and emailing.
Yeah.
And so picking up the phone is something that's so distant from them that they don't even think about that option. But I think if you're going to be great in sales, obviously going door to door. Speaking of door to door, Hector, did you ever get the door slammed in your face, or do you remember anybody like telling you like something crazy and just what the F are you doing here? Or...
I have a few stories. I'm not sure how PG some of them are. So one example is I knocked on a guy's door, and this was also a Saturday 10 a.m. guy. And he said he was going to dig up my grandmother's corpse and defile me with it. That was a fun one. Or another person who set their dogs on me. Another, not like a bad one, but I used to work in a suit. And so I was walking around quite a nice neighborhood and I knocked on the door. And the guy said, oh, you're late. So he rushed me in and I sat through a 45-minute wedding of someone I'd never met before because I didn't really have an opportunity to open my mouth. And at the end of it, he said, oh, so how do you know the bride and groom? He said, I'll be honest, I was just here to sell you like fertilizer. And just like, get out of my house right now.
Where was the wedding? In the backyard?
Yeah. I got excited. It looked like a good lead. There had lots of grass that needed fertilizer. So yeah.
Oh my God, that is crazy. You just said, get the hell out.
Yeah. It's almost easier when they're really rude.
All right, folks, I'm taking a quick breather. In building my business, I've come to an important realization. Certain tools can be enjoyable and valuable for your prospects. I'm excited to talk to you about Landbot, the AI chatbot generator. With the help of AI, you can easily automate fun, friendly, and flexible conversations, engage your leads, answer repetitive questions, or provide around-the-clock customer service on your website, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, or any of your customers' favorite channels. The chatbots are super easy to design for non-technical people. I created mine in 15 minutes and could instantly deploy it on my website. If you want a hassle-free and intuitive AI chatbot that your customers will love, head to landbot.io/try or follow the link in the podcast description to sign up and create yours for free. All right, back to the show. Let's talk about Fluencer. This platform, you and I connected on LinkedIn a few months ago, and I saw this and this is fantastic. This is a really great way for SaaS companies or B2B companies to go and find reputable B2B influencers that they may want to work with. And so where did you get the original idea for this? And where are you at in terms of getting it off? Is it entirely bootstrap or did you get financing? Like, how did that work?
Sure. So the idea stemmed from, I love building stuff. So I built lots of small AI products and tools that you charge maybe $2 to $5 a month for. And it's much more of a volume play and kind of user acquisition on that piece. And I thought, I can't cold call 5,000 people. I could email that many, but I thought, why not try something a bit different? So I went on TikTok and I was like, oh, I wonder if I can find productivity influencers specifically to talk about this. And I went on the creator marketplace and I realized that they bucket everything just as like business influencers. And it's very hard to drill down because if you had a sales influencer, there are loads of specializations, just like in marketing, there's ABM, PLG, content, SEO, so on and so forth. And then I thought the only way to find those kinds of individuals is actually through LinkedIn. And then I started doing research and I realized there's no influencer LinkedIn marketplace. And that was basically in the inception of it. And I've started a couple of companies before and fundraised for them. And so I had the frameworks to be able to validate the idea. So I spoke to 50 VPs of marketing and CMOs, then spoke to the influencers as well and learned about their process. And a lot of them signed up and said, yeah, I wouldn't mind. I want to earn extra money. Why wouldn't I? And there are a few nuanced conversations within that, but that was the inception. And from December till basically now, we've got about 200 plus influencers on the platform. We've worked with nearly 20 brands and just getting a huge amount of interest. But me personally, I've worked on a lot of different companies, and it's a really nice feeling when I'm sure someone works with you, Eric, and all your podcasts come together and you get results for the people that are sponsoring all these podcasts. We've had such good results from the campaigns that we've been running. It's having a real founder moment, just being like, oh, this is amazing. That both sides of the marketplace are happy. Everyone's collaborating well. And it's been super awesome to see, to be honest. In terms of the kind of funding amounts, we, because of Revenue Syndicate, speak to loads of founders and see loads of pitch decks and stuff. And one of the things is you should always be trying to build your product for as scrappily and leanly as possible. And we were able to secure some revenue basically just using a combination of spreadsheets and some like automations that we made. No code, I can't code, I'm just a salesperson, but I have some level of operations. And yeah, been able to get to profitability in 2-3 months. And then it's just about making it better and actually starting to build the technology behind it too.
Yeah, know exactly what you mean. Like with the MVP, I just put a page on my podcast website and had a Google form. So anybody who was interested would just fill out the Google form. And now it's got its own website and it looks a little bit nicer. And I'm starting to look into a proper CRM because obviously you've got podcasters that are in my community and then you've got leads and customers, and just Excel's great or Google Sheets is great. But if you're trying to grow a business that's been validated, then you need to start thinking about the processes and tools that you're going to use. So you used a metric that I thought was really fascinating on a LinkedIn post earlier, because I always think, and you always see a lot of posts where people talk about, oh, we generated X new revenue for this company through this campaign. But you used a metric, and I think it was something along the lines of, we reawakened dormant leads or dormant customers who weren't really active or spending money with the client. Do you remember what that metric was called? Or
Yeah, it hasn't necessarily been given a term in terms of like when you find those opportunities, it's any closed loss deal. So any opportunity where they've said now's not the right time, using a competitor, the pricing's too much, whatever it may be, in the objection that they had, that they end up not signing with the solution that you're selling. And a lot of companies will have, they just call them closed loss campaigns, where they get the salespeople after 3 to 6 months to call through all of those things and say, is now a better time? We've released this new feature. Are you still struggling with this pain point? With the idea that they'll revive that opportunity. And so what we look at when we speak to brands is, are there any opportunities that have either stalled, they just haven't got back to the salesperson in an extended period of time, they're bad on communication, any closed loss ones that have come back around and are like, actually, this person who I respect is posting about the solution, maybe I should take it a second look and come back and revive that opportunity. So as well as, can I bring in net new revenue, is can I bring stuff back from the dead? And so that's also something that we're trying to track at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. So what phase are you in right now? I think you said that you're building the technology behind it. What is that going to look like from a user perspective if you're a brand?
Sure. So if you're a brand, the beginning to end flow is that you'd be able to come on the platform, create a campaign, which is, these are the objectives I want to get out of it. This is the kind of copy and content and pieces of information that I want to distribute. this is how I want to incentivize the people I'm working with. Then matching through the ICP, the audience data, being able to filter and say, okay, these are the top 10 to 15 influencers, approach those individuals, pay them to post, and then get the results of them posting and coordinate the whole campaign process from beginning to end. That's the MVP vision. As of yesterday, I had this really crazy idea, which is very technically difficult to do, but we found a way to do it where one of the things that you're ultimately paying for is someone's audience. And the way that people's audiences are broken down on LinkedIn is, let's call them, they're bucketed, and the buckets are quite good, but they're not amazing. And we can essentially track the last 3 months of every person that's liked and commented on an influencer's profile, build a data set, and then say, okay, this person has liked and commented on every single post for the last 3 months. And so they're a hyper engaged audience member of this influencer. Now I can take that data and give it to the influencer and say, here is a snapshot of your community. But more importantly, for the brand side, I can take all of your opportunities, every stakeholder who's a decision maker, cross-reference that data and say, okay, here, you should hire these 3 influencers because your active deals at the moment all map with their audience. And so they're definitely going to see it and they'll probably engage. And it should either create a deal or move the deal down the pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish we had that kind of data available for podcast listeners.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is really amazing. In terms of the results and the engagement and the number of likes, are you going to bring that information back into the Flooencer platform for brands to see as well?
So there's definitely a big data play in terms of using all of the campaign data, both for the influencers, like what kind of content they should create in terms of, should I do video? Should I do graphics? Should I write posts? And what kind of posts should I write? But then you're right, in terms of the brands, they can track impressions, engagements, engagement rates. And in future, we'll do CRM integrations and affiliate links and stuff so you can more accurately track it. But at the moment, we just say either ask them on a demo or have your own affiliate link software and everything else. But we can provide the, let's say, like vanity metrics of impressions on top of funnel. But the bit that's exciting is using machine learning to optimize the campaigns that they're running for what time of day should they get the influencers to post, what kind of content they should write. And that's where it gets really interesting, in my opinion. Can you do the same thing with podcast data?
Not really, because every podcast is on a different platform and there's so many different platforms. You got Anchor, Spotify, you got Buzzsprout. And I think within my network, there's no one platform that represents 5 or more podcasters. That's how widespread it is. And so it's really hard to get data unless people are sharing their API or screenshots of whatever data. And the other thing too is that downloads, like Spotify reports like listens, I think, or plays, and plays is a combination of downloads and listens, but other platforms don't even report listens. So it's just very scattered on the number of metrics that are out there. And I think downloads is the only one that's consistent. But when we were talking about Flooencer, you said you had about 20 plus brands that you worked with. How did you initially get those 20 brands? Were you cold calling them? Did you pick up the phone?
Actually, word of mouth. I haven't had to make any cold calls, which is the irony of it. But that also means that you're working on something people want, is that they come to you because it's a pain point or a channel they want to try, and then also the results. So most brands that we've worked with after the first month, they get a lot of MQLs. Like one campaign we did within a 12-hour period had 68 people register for a demo. And it was the most meetings they've ever had historically on a single day ever. And the founder actually said almost across an entire year. And that was having a sales team of 2 SDRs, and we did it in 12 hours. And so They told all of their friends about it and were like, you need to go work with this company, which has been great for us. But there will come a point where I'll have to be more proactive. But as I said, I actually don't mind picking up the phone and cold calling people and doing the sales bit. I enjoy it.
What platforms are the influencers on Flooencer primarily representing?
Primarily LinkedIn, but a bit like how we got started actually, and talking about kind of podcast sponsorships, a lot of the bigger creators will have a newsletter or a podcast, some sort of coaching course maybe, and then consolidating all of, like, creating their own media company. Mm-hmm. And then that's eventually what we'll be able to support is B2B media spend as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. One more question about the platform. What are you excited about in the next 12 months? Hector?
Ooh, so I am most excited about seeing the engaged audiences and seeing how it works, because if my hypothesis is right, as with testing any business, you make three strategic big bets a year, and those should be the only three things that you focus on. And engaged audiences is one of our bets. And so we're talking with a few CMOs about how to pilot this with them. And I just really want to see it work, because if we can, we will be the only company ever to have done it. And if it works, obviously that's great, because more revenue. But I also think that it's such a challenging task that I don't think we'll eventually get a competitor. Like, I'd be naive to think that someone won't come along, but that specifically will be very hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Great. Great. Now it's rapid fire time. Are you ready?
Sure,
Okay.
I'm
First
ready.
one. Okay. Fill in the blank on this one. Blank gives you motivation.
Oh, free time gives me motivation. So, like, being able to afford free time.
Yeah. No, I love that too. I love looking at my calendar and I see a day like, oh my God, I only have one call that day. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay. Blank is the title of your PowerPoint presentation that's going to get you an additional $100 million investment.
How to be resilient.
Okay. Okay. What is the most death-defying act you've ever done?
Ooh, I jumped off a cliff in Morocco, and the margin for error, because it was down a chasm, was maybe 2 inches each side. It was terrifying. And then, so yeah, you drop through it and then go into a river and that kind of thing. But if it was also maybe 5 or 6 meters, so if you missed, you would definitely break something, and it wouldn't be good. And actually, to be honest, I love skiing, so I've skied off a lot of cliffs before. That's pretty scary sometimes.
Okay, Hector. All right, last one for you. In the new Disney original, Hector is struggling with blank for the first time.
Hector is struggling with relationships, to be honest. It's more about being able to allocate time to invest in them or find one.
Okay, there you have it, folks. We have Hector Forwood here from Flooencer. I will put links to Hector's LinkedIn profile and the website in the show notes. Hector, thanks so much for coming on Innovators Can Laugh.
Eric, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Cheers for having me.
Yeah, pleasure having you. All right, thanks everyone.